Something strange starts happening in your late 50s. Nothing obvious changes. You still get up and go to work. Your routine is exactly the same as it's been for years. Most days look very similar to the ones you lived 5 years ago or even 10 years ago. But something quietly shifts inside you. Work begins to feel different. Not because the job itself has changed, but because your relationship with time starts to change. You start noticing things that never really registered before. How quickly the years seem to pass. How suddenly people around you begin to disappear. And how the life you thought was stretching endlessly ahead of you suddenly doesn't feel quite so endless anymore. And for me, that awareness really sharpened over the last couple of years. My mother had a stroke in September 2023, where she developed apraxia and aphasia as a result, and then dementia followed very quickly. And at first there was still a little spark in her eyes. Even though she wasn't really the mum I knew anymore, there was still something there. But over the course of that year, that spark slowly faded. And by the following September, just 12 months later, there was almost nothing left of the person that I recognised. She was physically there, but the person who raised me had almost disappeared. She was in a care home after the short stay in hospital immediately after the stroke. And visiting her a few times each week became harder and harder. Sometimes she'd get quite angry with me, especially if I tried to give her a hug or a kiss goodbye. And that's a difficult thing to process, because you know the person you love is still there somewhere, but they can't reach you anymore. And then in April 2025, after a couple of falls, she passed away. And watching that whole process unfold changed the way I look at time. But 3 months later to the day, my aunt passed away as well. And she was the last of my mum's siblings. My mum had 3 brothers, but all gone before her, as well as a sister. And suddenly that entire generation of my family had disappeared. And that moment made something really sink in for me. Because when that happens, you realise something you may never have thought about before. You're now the older generation. There isn't another layer above you anymore. And that's stark. And once that thought lands, it changes the way you see things. You start noticing how quickly the years move on. You start noticing your children growing up. My son Jake is nearly 14. And if you've got kids, you'll probably understand exactly what I mean when I say this. One day they're little boys who just want to sit next to you on the sofa all night. They want to be around you all the time. And then suddenly they're teenagers. And now Jake spends most of his time in what we still call the playroom. It used to be our garage that we converted, but really now it's his gaming room. He's got his PC, his VR in there and everything he needs. So most evenings he's in there with his headphones on, talking to his mates online while they're gaming. And that's completely normal. That's just part of growing up in this day and age. But it does make you realise something. You don't always notice the moment your little boy disappears. One day you just look up and realise he's grown up. Now we spend time together still. For example, he plays football every week and I go and watch him. I take him out with his mates to go trampolining or whatever he may want to do. And now that he's older, we can talk about things in a different way together. Not like mates, but because I'll always be his dad. But we can have a real conversation now. Whether it be about football, about life, about the world. And that's something I value quite a lot. But at the same time, I do sometimes miss that little boy who just wanted to sit next to me on the sofa. And I think that's why I've been thinking more about time recently. Even the house, we're redesigning it at the moment, and that reflects it. We're opening up the kitchen area and adding a breakfast bar in and trying to make it more family orientated. We've got some bifold doors at the back of the house, so we're going to open that onto the garden, particularly in the summer, to kind of really give it that nice appeal. Because I know these years, when everyone still lives under that same roof, they don't last forever. So maybe that shift that happens in your late 50s isn't really just about money. And maybe it isn't just about retirement either. I think it's something deeper. It's about the moment when time stops feeling endless. When you realise the years ahead might be fewer than the years you've got behind you. And once that thought arrives, it quietly changes how you look at everything. Work, family, and how you actually want to spend the time you've got left. Before I finish, I'm genuinely curious about something. If you've got children, did you ever suddenly look at them one day and realise how quickly the years have gone? Let me know in the comments, because I'd really like to hear other people's experiences. And if this kind of conversation resonates with you, feel free to like the video or even possibly subscribe if you don't mind. Because this channel is really just about navigating the stage of life together and working out what actually matters as the years move on.